Hello and welcome to my channel on human design. And we are going to continue the series of looking at the transits that come through the week. Now, this particular week is going to be very interesting because we have the 4323 coming in. So the 4323 is a mental channel. It's a channel of expression. And it's there to express ideas that will undermine the way that you think about things. We have the 43rd gate in the ajna, which is there for unique insight, a sudden knowing that comes through, an individual gate of conceptualizing in a way that is not normal, that has not perhaps been done before. To bring something new to the world needs an expression gate that will really cut through everything. And the 23 is there to undermine that general collective idea of how things are working. So this is quite something. It's called the channel of structuring. It has its own knowing. And in that knowing, it is kind of linked to everything in a way. It's a way of perceiving through knowing without even knowing how you know what you know. Now, this kind of knowing isn't based on fact. It's not logical. It's not looking at the details. And unlike last week, it's not based on the expression of emotional narrative. It is simply knowing. So this is going to be influencing us for the next 6 days. And in this way, you can expect to be thinking outside of the box, to be listening to expression where you go, what was all that about? Or if they can explain it well, and this is the key, if they can explain their knowing, then it can be like, wow, this is incredible. But if they can't, then it's, what the hell are you talking about? So it's quite something to be thinking in this way. And no doubt many of us are going to be thinking about our own lives in a very unique perspective, maybe expressing that to others, getting feedback of what they think of these ideas that are coming through at the same time. I also want to point out that you can see in the diagram, the throat also has the 45th gate, the 8th gate, and the 31st gate also in there. So again, the expressions, the 45 in Jupiter is really the voice that says, I have or I haven't got something. It's the CEO, it's the king gate, the queen gate. It's the expression of the tribal ruler. What I have, what I haven't got, how to educate my people so that they will do better, so that they can prosper. The 31st gate is a gate of being influential. It's logical. It's the elected leader. It's about saying, well, this is the way we're going to go. According to the facts, according to the path we're going down, this will take you to a better future. Now, whether it is the false promises of regular politicians, or whether it's actually those that are truly walking their talk, actually saying this is the way to go, and they're going there themselves. Proper leaders, proper diplomats. And the 8th gate, there in Uranus, this is about how to make your unique contribution. I can, says the 8. Well, if you can, you better show them, because they're not going to believe you unless you show them. So this is also going on within the expressions. And the question will be, how can I make my own unique contribution to the collective? How can I bring their attention to something new? How can I bring their attention to something worthwhile for the future direction? How can I bring their attention to some education that they need to understand so they can do better? Or how can I bring them together so they can thrive in a material sense? So all this is going to be going on while the transit is going to bring in this structured view of seeing things in a unique perspective, which is why I say it's going to be rather interesting to see what comes out of your expression, what comes out of the expressions of those that you know and those that you see on the box. Now, this is going to keep running until for 6 days, as I said, and on the 12th, depending on where you live, on the 12th or on the 13th, there is also going to be the 21st gate coming into the moon position. This is the drive. This is what drives us. So with the 21, it's going to bring up issues of control. Are we in control? Are we out of control? Are we powerless to do anything about the control? Is the chaos if we don't hold control? What is going on? Now, because the 45 is also there, and we can see this certainly on the 13th, the full channel of the money line is there. So it could well be us rethinking about how we're dealing with our financial resources. It could be issues coming up in terms of the banks and what they're up to and what they're going to do. There could even be questions about whether the Federal Reserve should stand once Trump gets in. Is there going to be, talk about how we're going to change or how they're going to try and change the financial structure, whether crypto is going to come up? Are we going to be backing a new way of banking, a new way of using money? Now, it's only a moon transit, so it's going to come and go pretty quickly, probably about 10 hours. But it'll certainly get you to think about your financial status and what you need to do about it, what you have willpower for in order to bring in more control or to lessen control where you're over-controlled. These are all issues that are going to come up and worthwhile thinking about. Now, having said that, the 21 will be moving away from that position, and it will soon be replaced by the 51. And I mentioned the 51 because, it is the gate of shock. There is going to be something coming that can be very shocking. Maybe it's to do with the financial system. Maybe it's to do with something else. Maybe it's to do with some catastrophe. I cannot say. I can only tell you that it's going to be in the transit field for 10 hours on the 13th. So dealing with shock, withdrawing and then recovering from that, taking time out to maybe just deal with whatever it is before moving forward, learning from it, being prepared through it, perhaps for later shocks that are going to come. All part of our journey through this week. If you're enjoying this and you want to subscribe to my daily impact report, which comes out on a daily basis, just go to my website and get a free subscription. And for those of you who haven't yet got your advanced report, please do go to my website and get a report, which is about 130 pages or more, going into all kinds of details in your chart, easy to read in an accessible way, with my insights in there. It also contains a few top tips of how to deal with yourself and your chemistry and your design, which people have told me have been very useful and helpful in their lives. So take advantage of that while it's there. When we come to the 14th, the moon brings in the 3rd gate. So here, this is the drive for a new order. And it creates with the 60th gate in Pluto a channel of mutation. So here we have the energy, the pressure to do something differently, the pressure to bring in a new order of some sort, at the same time as the 4323 is thinking about things in their own unique way. Now, that's going to be an interesting day, because the thinking and the doing perhaps can be linked if there's some connection. But certainly we'll be looking at a new order. Perhaps we'll be going into a confused state where we don't actually know what we're going to do until the hours go by and things begin to become clear. So some kind of disruption, I would think, in the way that we're going to be working, in the way that we're going to be using our energy, in order to bring out something new. And again, this can be very positive as well. It's not necessarily a negative thing. I mean, I would say that I live with the 360 my entire life, and I found it to be very useful. It kind of kicks me into action to do something new that I've never considered and learn in that process along the way as a 1-3. So I don't want you to be thinking too negatively about this, just to understand there will be some instability, perhaps in the way that we're moving through life during that time. And hopefully the new order will bring in perhaps even the implementation of potentially greater efficiency, because after all, the 4323 is known for not only for its ability to structure a lot of information in a very unique way, but also to bring efficiency to those, especially to those busy people with the 3420, who have got all the power to do things, but they need some guidance. There comes the 4323. You need to do it that way. Yes, it's not logical, but it does work and it's more efficient. Okay, let's try it. Let's see what happens. So I quite like that. I think the 14th is going to be very interesting. And it's a time when I'm going to be doing quite a lot of writing. So I'm looking forward to this individual energy coming in this new way of seeing things and this new way of doing things. When Friday the 15th comes in, the 58th gate comes into the Venus position. This is going to create a full channel in the channel of judgment. Now, the channel of judgment, the 5818, the 18 has been hanging around for a while, looking at things in a critical way, trying to see where the errors are and correct them. When we have the full channel there, and the full channel is going to remain for a little while because it's in Venus, which doesn't move as quickly as the moon. So this is going to be about refining things, improving things. You know, perhaps some insights come through the 4323 transit. It moves into action with the 360, and then comes in the refining process to bring in the new order, to refine it, to get it settled in, to structure it, to make it more functional, perhaps. We shall see. It is also known as the channel of the insatiable people. So it's also got a certain addictive quality to it, the 5818. The 58 being the gate of joy and openness, like an open lake. And then we have the 18 going, well, you know, let's count the ripples. Wait a minute, that ripple shouldn't be there, whatever it may be. But it's basically a corrective influence that's coming in. It could involve cleaning things up, clearing things out, getting rid of old stuff that doesn't work with the new order that's come in, perhaps. You know, you'll find yourself doing this. If you're to be affected by this, you will say, well, you know, I think it's time I cleaned things up and got rid of stuff around the corners and began to file things properly, or whatever it may be. You know, in your own life, you'll find how it comes out, but it's usually beneficial. I mean, it's usually something. I have the 58 looking to the 18 my whole life, and I like someone that says to me, look, that's wrong, Richard, you should do it this way, it'll be better. And I go, well, thank you very much. I don't think they're criticizing me and taking it personally, because I know it's logical. And logic really just wants to help people. It wants to help lives become more functional. So I am open to it, and I am open to this aspect of the transit that's coming. At the same time, on Friday, we get a nodal line change. For some time now, we've been going along the road in the nodes of the moon with the 17.3 and the 18.3. A third line path, a trial and error path, or a path of discovery. But it flips on Friday into a second line theme. So when I think about second lines, one of the things I think about is ways to make things more simple. It's no longer about trial and error. It's more smooth. It's more natural. In many ways, it's something that can be more attractive to people, because they can see whatever it is they need to see. It's got to like, oh, and we could do that. You know, we could correct that. We could make things easier. we could implement this piece of technology to make it easier, perhaps. When I think about logic coming through this side, I think about, well, technology to some degree. So anyway, the 17.2 and the 18.2 are there. Bear in mind that the 18.2 has this particular corrective way of seeing whether something can be fixed or not. It is, after all, being able to see where there is nothing that can be done to change something. You know, out with that, in with the new. Nothing can be done. It can't be fixed. So you will probably be going down the road saying, well, I'm not going to spend any money on that because we might as well get a new one. Or looking at your own addictions or your own habits or the things that you've put into your lifestyle. You know, perhaps it's time that some of those things that are not helping you anymore go. So I see this kind of cleaning up, a kind of an added functionality to the life, which, again, as I said, I see as a positive thing. Now, I've talked about the 8th gate being in the throat and the gate that says I can or I can't, bringing attention to something new and often new and beautiful. It's in Uranus, which is a kind of unusualness, if you like, sudden and unusual. And it's been there for a while. But now it comes into the moon. So then it becomes a drive. And this is the drive for people to be thinking about, how can I make my unique contribution? You know, how can I express it? How can I draw attention to something that I can add to the collective, something new, perhaps a new way of speaking, and perhaps a new way of bringing people to see things in a way they haven't seen them before. Another individual gate. As we move into the final day that I'm going to cover, the 17th, Sunday the 17th, the moon changes again, and we get the 16th gate coming in. This is the gate of skills, the gate of identification, a gate of taste, a gate that says, I experiment. Or really, it's like the enthusiasm to be able to experiment with often some new technology or some new musical aspect. It's skills. So skills come in. We'll be driven to look at skills. Do we have the skills? Do they have the skills? Who has the skills? Does nobody have the skills? You know, skills are going out of the world in the movement, in the big global movement, from the cross of planning to the sleeping phoenix. So it's certainly something to look at. But at this time, it's just going to come and go fairly quickly in the moon, looking at skills, looking at what you're really enthusiastic about. If we put in with that the channel of judgment, the 5818, and then the 16th gate there as well, we've almost got the full stream of taste. So again, it could be part of looking at how to implement the functional changes or the cleaning up or the energy to make things better. Perhaps it's now ready to be able to consider, well, now what can we do? So a movement on in that way, a movement on perhaps in technology, if you're working on any new tech, if you're working on any new musical projects. I often think about music, and especially classical music, when I think about this full stream, because of its sequential nature, because of its logical nature, and because of a number of other things I won't go into. So 16th gate is going to be the drive, you know, what you have a taste for, what you don't have a taste for. How can the skills be used to improve my life in some way or to improve the lives of others? When I think about the 16, I also think in terms of courses. You know, are you thinking of doing a course? Are you thinking of gaining new techniques, perhaps, for something that you want to get involved with, or something that you want to add to what you already have in terms of your skills, in terms of what you're able to do? So that may also be something that will be coming up, and also to think of it in terms of discernment, to fine-tune something in a particular way. That can also be something that will be coming up. So I do hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll be back again next week with something completely different. Until then, take care of yourselves. Bye for now.